All right, first of all, welcome to Math 155 Introduction to Mathematical Modeling. In video one, we begin with the basic language of a mathematical model, and those terms are variable, constant, formulas, input, and output. Okay, a variable is a symbol representing a quantity that can change. For example, you may see x, y, k, etc. Okay, it could be any variable. A constant is a quantity that remains fixed. For example, let's say back when a double cheeseburger used to be 99 cents. Well, every time you would go to McDonald's, it's going to be 99 cents. That is a constant rate. A formula is a rule related to two or more quantities. So let's just say if you go to the market and buy a candy bar, you can calculate based on the cost of that candy bar and the number of items you buy and multiply them, and that would create a formula for that particular equation. And input is the independent quantity supplied to the model, and an output is the dependent quantity produced by the model. Okay, so the output is the dependent quantity, excuse me, and then the input is the independent quantity. So example number one, let's go ahead and get to it. So example number one, the rideshare cost is stated here, where M is the number of miles. So here, M is the input, right? That's what we need to find. How many miles is there? So that'll be what we'll input into the function. C is the output, right? Because the output will basically tell us what the cost would be. And then 450 would be the constant or the fixed fee, right? And then 180 is the rate, okay? Is the rate, right? Or essentially 100, or excuse me, essentially a dollar and 80 cents per mile, okay? Okay. So it says identify the variables and constants. That's how we interpret this particular equation, right? Example number two, evaluate a formula. So we're going to use that same formula to find the cost of an 8-mile trip, including the units. All right. So we have our equation or our formula. Um, C equals 450 plus 180 M. And M is equal to 8 miles, all right, or an 8-mile trip. So what we do with that is we essentially substitute, so 450 plus 180 multiplied by 8, right? That's 450 plus, and then 180 times 8 is going to give me 1440. Final result is C is equal to 1890. And so that is essentially the cost is going to be $18.90 for this 8-mile trip. Okay. Next question. As a matter of fact, this question says a streaming service charges $12 per mile plus $3 per movie rental. Write a formula for monthly costs. Okay, you can pause the video and complete this one if you would like. Okay, so a streaming service charges $12 per month plus $3 per movie rental. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to let R represent the number of movie rentals, right? I'm going to let R movie rentals. And I like to, use, related variables, right? I'm talking about movie rentals. You could use M, you could use any variable, all right? And then I'm going to let C represent the monthly costs, okay? Now, all right. So the fixed rate, right? The streaming service charges $12 per month plus $3 per movie rental. Okay, so that fixed rate or the fixed amount is that $12 fee that they're not budging on. The variable is that $3 per movie rental, okay, or $3 each per rental. So therefore, this tells me everything that I need to know. So the cost or the dependent or the output is contingent upon the $12 and the number of movies that I'm going to be renting. Okay, it's that simple. All right, let's continue. Example number 3. In P equals 250, parentheses 1.04 raised to the T, explain the meaning of 250, 1.04, and T in a population model. Okay, so first of all, this didn't generate the way I would like it have to. So it's actually 250 parentheses 1.04 and then T as an exponent. So anytime you see this is like basically computer language. So if that's caret or shift 6 on your computer, but it's basically showing you as showing it as an exponent. So this is a population model, right? The number 250 is the initial population. Okay. So if I were to dissect this, so this is again, this is the initial population. Okay. And then the 1.04 is the growth factor. Because 1.04 is essentially 1 plus 0.4, right? And then that variable t represents the number of time periods, okay? Okay. So 250 is the initial value or the initial population. And then this would be the growth factor and then you would get essentially the time, okay? Example number 4. Plan A is 35 plus 5G and plan B is 50 plus 2G. Explain how the fixed and variable costs will differ. Okay. So plan A, we have 35 plus 5G. And then plan B, we have 50 plus 2G. Okay. So plan A, 35 is the fixed cost, right? And then 5 is the cost per unit of gram, right? And then B, we have 50 being the fixed cost, while 2 is the cost per unit of gram. So plan A essentially has the lower fixed cost, but a higher variable cost, whereas plan B has a higher fixed cost and a lower variable cost. Okay, so that's the comparison. Oh, excuse me, that is the comparison essentially that both of these show. Um, so this one has the higher variable, lower fixed, lower variable, higher fixed. Okay. And again, everything operates and functions on everything. Groceries, I mean, you name it, getting a loan, mortgages, all of them operate under. You can find out what the fixed variable is. You can find out what that, what the, excuse me, you can find out what the variable is and what the fixed amount is. All right, let's look at a common mistake. So a student writes X without defining it. Explain why a model must state what the variable measures and in units. Okay, so um, writing only X, right? When they wrote only X, it does not tell us what that variable represents. A mathematical model should define the quantity and, when appropriate, its units. For example, X equaling the distance traveled in miles, right? That's meaningful. Now the X has meaning, but simply writing X as nothing, that's not good enough. Okay. So we have to clarify what we mean by our variables. Okay. So again, this is just lesson one. And these are the most important terms that you need to understand. Variable, what a variable means, what constant means, what a formula is, what input and output also mean. Okay. All right. That concludes video one. And again, thank you for watching.